Venice is the unique cultural and historical center of Italy, founded in the 5th century AD and spread over 118 small islands. Venice was a major maritime power at the time. Today, this city attracts more than hundreds of thousands of tourists from all over the world who are longing for experiencing its unique atmosphere. We're also here. This is a special issue of the Reporter of President's program on Tilkway TV channel. We will introduce you to the wonders of the 60s Art Biennale that is taking place here these days. But before that, let us explore the city a little bit. Venice is living evidence of long-standing coexistence of mankind and nature. This unforgettable landscape inspired Canaletto, Guardi, and many other painters, and as a result, the influence of Venice on the architecture and monumental arts has been elevated through many centuries. This is the actual vibe, the actual atmosphere of the city. Look at these streets, they are so narrow. And I'm inviting you to feel this atmosphere together with us. Let's go. Venice, as who lives here says, symbolizes a victorious struggle against the elements as the people managed to master once a hostile nature. The examples of these victories are monumental pieces of architecture like Basilica di San Marco, Palazzo Ducale, Basilica di Santa Maria della Salute, and many others. The Biennale in Venice has very rich history. First held in 1895, it has become a platform for contemporary art and artists from various countries that are usually linked by a common curatorial theme. This year, held under the Foreigners Everywhere theme, the exhibition will become a common ground for all artists, art lovers, tourists and visitors to encounter various art practices from all different parts of the world. The theme of the Biennale, which is Foreigners Everywhere, has a deep meaning. First of all, wherever we go, we encounter foreigners. Secondly, no matter where, we find ourselves deep down inside where foreigners do. This powerful message has united hundreds of artists this year and echoed in national pavilions of countries' participants as an instrument to express national identity.
Praticamente è una capanna.
Topak F, or the yurt by Nil Lialter, was made in reference to the tents made by Bektik nomadic community in central Anatolia, traditionally made by bridges to be as emblematic of gender roles in such communities.
The Biennale, starting its journey in 19th century, became an effective platform for artistic self-expression and also a platform that promotes important social and political messages. The late 1960s, for example, marked by raising issues like civil rights, gender equality, and economic ideologies, influenced in many ways emerging art practices of that time. Today, artists also try to speak about different issues they find relevant for humankind in their works. We see reflection in different installations, pictures, and media.
For this year we have John Aconfra. It's a very important name in British contemporary art. John Aconfra's practices a lot about the dire legacy of colonialism and also the current situation of the environment and how this affects and displaces populations. So in this particular piece he structured this installation that is, you can consider it a single very large installation with 62 screens, but it's actually made out of 8 individual installations and is structured inspired by the cantos by American poet Ezra Pound.
Jono Ritalik and Neil Musan are artists from the UK who we have also met at the Biennale in Venice. They are engaged in an art experiment where they ask people one particular question, record it, and then let their interviewees not only listen to their own voices, but also to immerse themselves in the sounds of nature. We ask them what is the most important thing they find about the Biennale. Tell us more about the Biennale, your participation, and what all, everything that you have on you mean, really.
No problem. Okay, so I'm Jono.
And I'm Neil. We work together. We're both artists. We work as an artistic duo. This costume is our performance piece at this year's Biennale. And I will let Jono explain to you what that is.
Yeah, so we wanted to ask a question to people, and we wanted them to come up and be inspired or provoked by the words on our outfit. And the question we're asking is, what is your most precious possession? And in asking that question, we're asking people to think about really their identity, about what matters to them. And it's been quite amazing. We've been here for several days, and often people really reflect on the things that matter, and they aren't often objects, materiality, things that they have, but they are things like, well, we had courage today, someone who possesses courage, and that was beautiful. And I think what's lovely about coming to the Biennale and being an artist and provoking people into responding is everyone's really got a strong appetite for sharing how they feel.
So for Jono and I particularly, this theme is really relevant because our work is about how communities are built through sharing identities. And so it can be a very positive force.
Our next location is Kazakhstan's Pavilion at the Biennale. This year, Kazakh National Pavilion was for the first time commissioned by the Ministry of Culture and Information. The theme of the pavilion is Reruyuk, Journey Beyond the Horizon. We are met by one of two pavilions' curators, Anvar Musrepov, who agreed to tell us more about the works of Kazakh artists that are present in the pavilion. Please tell us more about our Kazakh pavilion at the Biennale.
Да, конечно, наша тема – это утопия, взгляд за горизонт.
Yes, of course. Our theme is Utopia, a look beyond the horizon. We focused on a legend that dates back to the 15th century, to such a quasi-historical hero, the character as Hasan Kayha. Hasan Kayha was a philosopher of the steppe, an advisor to the counts Janibek and Kirey. The main narrative tells the legend that Hasan Kayha was searching for the promised land throughout his life. We use this narrative as a framework, that is, as a metaphor to depict this particular story. But there are exactly 4 directions here. There are futurism, cosmism, utopianism, and spiritualism. We did a lot of research, established a chronology starting from the earliest images, from the 80s to the present days. Each generation, decade by decade, we look at the key works that could form part of such a conventional ontology of the new movement associated with futurism.
As far as we know, 7 Kazakh artists have exhibited their works here. Let's talk more about it. Maybe you can show us these works.
Данная работа посвящена такой как бы истории.
This work is Sergei Maslov's own essay called Astral Nomads. Specifically, the installation itself is called Baikonur 2. But the essay Astral Nomads describes that back in the days of yore, Kazakh nomads traveled the vastness of the universe on such ships, space rockets in the form of yurts. This was one of the first examples of work from 2002, when the artist combined 2 narratives of our cultural tradition with science fiction. Sergei Maslov and many other artists in this exhibition set such an impulse that we can imagine our own utopias, our own worlds of the fantastic, science fiction. And technologies, such as, let's say, the technology presented here, is generative art. It can be compared to artificial intelligence, for example. And technology and our traditions and our culture and our view of the future and the cosmos, all of this is not some kind of contradiction. All this can be united into one direction.
Эта работа датируется 86 годом.
This work dates from 1986. Its title, Akir Zaman, translates from Kazakh as "the end of the world." and it deals with the grand narratives of the end of the false civilization. The image of the child gives first of all hope. When the old world is destroyed, a new generation appears, which leaves hope that even in such a global crisis, we still hope that new generation will appear.
I was particularly impressed by the picture with a baby on it. I'm a teacher myself, and I think the sense of the image, the baby that is above anything else, has a deep meaning. I felt also a connection of a baby, a child, with an art in this work.
The exhibition is a chronology of artworks of the utopian imagination produced since 1970s through the period of the emergence of contemporary art in Kazakhstan and up to the present days, including works based on AI.
Here is the work of Kamil Mulashev. It's his graduation work of 1978. In particular, this work is, of course, an author's copy. That is a reproduction, but it completely repeats the original images. It is very important that the artist indicates here the time and space of Kazakhstan, which shows that we have just such an imagination connected with the steppe. Futurism here, we can say, unfolds precisely in the Kazakh steppe. Here we can see a work of my authorship. I am more inclined to the theme of dystopia here. I was inspired by the filmography of Central Asian and Kazakh film studios, where we can find a large number of historical films. We can find various comedies, crime dramas, but we don't have a single example of science fiction cinema. I try to combine our local traditions, narratives, myths, with science fiction, in a sense, to find my own language, what Kazakh futurism could be.
I love this movie. It makes you dizzy, and the effect is that you go somewhere inside, and there is a feeling that you become part of this magical action.
In this exhibition, artists try to project their vision of ideal worlds with a look beyond the horizon of events.
I like this kind of unity of traditionalism and cosmic things. Very unexpected. There is not much of that in cosmism, because other people do it there, but yours is so organic.
I'm very happy for our artist, and especially for the fact that Irbolat Tolebay's works will be seen by the whole world, because this is a great platform of world art. I'm overwhelmed with pride, joy and happiness.
And finally, Kazakhstan's pavilion at the Biennale was approved as a big success. The most prominent industry players talked about the uniqueness of cultural and artistic representation of Kazakhstan here in Venice. Now we're located in the Kazakhstan's pavilion. There are the works, significant works of the Kazakh artists, so you have a chance to see some of them. So what is your first natural impression of it?
What I find most impressive about the Kazakhstan Pavilion is the way it begins 50, 60 years back and moves through the development of a very sort of Central European form of modernism into contemporary art. But actually demonstrates it in its multiplicity. So we're not looking here at one sort of national style or one localized style, but we're actually looking at all of these various different debates that happen across painting and sculpture to sound art across a very long period of time. But you can see these works and these artists really conversing with one another about these key debates within art, within this sort of Central Asian region.
Today, more than ever, the role of art is not only to have an aesthetically pleasing image, but also to convey a thought, an important message to the viewer. Given my extensive experience of visiting pavilions, I give my preference to the Kazakh Pavilion, because it was the curators of the Kazakh Pavilion who used art both from an aesthetic point of view and from a conceptual as well.
Speaking with the language of art, there is always a room for expression, diversity and cultural representation. Speaking particularly of Kazakhstan, it is already taken its place in the global art scene. That is everything we wanted to share with you from the Biennale 2024 in Venice. See you next time.